Man, what's cracking, gang? It's T Nasty, and I'm back with another banger for you guys. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Marab made me eat my words, guys. Shout out to him for real. He had a great game plan and he executed perfectly. I was pretty upset at first. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. You know I'm Sugar Sean's number one glazer, but he seems to be handling the loss well, and I know he still has some big fights to be had in the future. But we'll get to all that later. And before we get started, I just want to go over how I did on picks and just recap the card a little for you guys. So, didn't do too great to be honest. I went 5 and 5 on picks, managing to get Shevchenko, Rodriguez, Dumont, Souza, and Rosas correct. I also correctly called fight of the night with Rybovics and Zellhuber putting on a fight of the year candidate. We also correctly called most Mexican losing. Told you guys that was a lock. Literally every time they do a regional card like this, either every single one of them wins or like most of them lose and get fraud checked. Now, with all that being said, we're going to be matchmaking all the fights I want to see for the big winners and losers at UFC 306. Starting off with the new champ, Marab. Now, for Marab, a lot of the fellow Sugar Sean Glazers out there are calling for an immediate rematch, but we know now that Sean is going to be taking a few months off to heal from injuries and get surgery. And honestly, I just don't think Sean deserves an immediate rematch. So, we all know the obvious contender that's setting up for the title shot is Umar Nurmagomedov. They asked Marab about him in the post-fight interview. Marab literally shit his pants. Like, he started changing the subject to Dana and all that, man. He looked like Ilya after Max won at UFC 300. But honestly, though, I think Davison Figueiredo deserves it more. He's a former champion on a really good 3-fight win streak over Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, and Chito Vera. Umar and Figgy are both fights I really want to see from Marab. I think they both have a good shot at beating him, honestly. I can see both of these guys being able to actually threaten Marab on the ground, especially Figgy, because she just has a freaking nasty bottom game, dude, with the submissions and the elbows. And Umar is honestly very similar. He's a lot like Islam. If you take him down, he's probably going to reverse you and end up on top. And that dude has a nasty freaking bottom game, too. He's super strong on top, really good submissions. But we all know they're going to go with Umar for the next title shot, so that's the fight to make. Marab versus Umar, I think, would be a great fight to throw on a card, either in Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia early next year. And now for the former champ, Sean O'Malley. Now, I know, he got dominated, yeah. The haters can say whatever they want, man, but I truly believe Sean will be champ again, and he will get that win back against Marab. There are 3 fights I really want to see for Sean. Even if he would have won the title, I would have wanted to see these as title defenses. But imagine this 3-fight run, guys. Henry Cejudo, Corey Sandhagen, Peter Yan rematch, 5 rounds. No matter what they go with for Sean's next fight, it's definitely going to be a huge fight, either pay-per-view co-main or a fight night main event, something cool like that. I believe Sugar Sean is going to be a lot like Nate Diaz or Jorge Masvidal. Like, he may not have the belt anymore, but every time he fights, it's going to be a big deal. He honestly, I could see Sugar Sean being one of those guys who main events pay-per-views without a title on the line. Like, he's just that big of a star, in my opinion. But yeah, those 3 fights have to be the move for Sean. Get those 3 wins, and then hopefully Marab will keep the belt, and we can get the rematch. If not, book the rematch as a non-title fight, and then when Sean gets the win back, they can give him another title shot against Umar. So, the fight to make is Sugar Sean versus Henry Cejudo. There's a history and a beef there. It's a great stylistic matchup, and we will get to see that cringe lord midget get knocked the fuck out, man. This one definitely, I think, could be a pay-per-view main event, especially if it's in, like, Arizona. They're both from there, so I think it'd be pretty cool. Yeah, the Sugar Sean comeback title run starts now. Alright, moving on. God damn it, I really didn't want to talk about this one, but I guess I have to. I thought Shevchenko was going to win a decision this time, but I did not expect it to be so fucking boring. I thought she was going to be aggressive with the striking, but she really just went out there and hugged Grasso for 5 rounds. I mean, I don't blame her, but it was so bad. Regardless, it is time we move on from this rivalry. I know they are technically 1-1-1, but let's be real, it's 2-1 Shevchenko. We get it, Alexa is cute, but she had her moment. It's time to move on. There's really only one fight to make right now for the next title shot. That's Manon Fior versus Shevchenko. I think this will hopefully be a really good fight if Fior is able to keep it on the feet. I mean, Shevchenko is definitely going to try and grapple again, but we can pray that Fior makes it a fight. Fior probably deserved a title shot 2 fights ago, to be honest, but the division was stalled with that rivalry, so thankfully now it's her time. Throw this fight on the December card or early next year. Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fior is the next title fight to make for women's flyweight. Moving on, we got Ariana Grande. Now, she's a former champ, so her next fight will have to be a big deal. I think there's options for Alexa, but the main matchup I want to see is Alexa Grasso versus Rose Namajunas. Rose is fighting Erin Blanchfield later this year, but honestly, win or lose, I think that is the next fight for Grasso. 2 former champs, 2 girls that low-key people are weirdly obsessed with. Rose Namajunas versus Alexa Grasso. That's the one to book. Now, we got my boy Diego Lopez. Man, shout out to Diego. That motherfucker is the truth. I did not see him putting a whooping on Ortega like that, but man, he had a great performance. Now, for Diego, he's another guy with options after this fight, man. I think a rematch versus Movsar or a matchup against Aljo would be compelling to decide the next number one contender. I also think Diego versus Yair would be a really entertaining scrap. I've been seeing a lot of people suggest the Volkanovski fight. Guys, we need to keep my man Diego as far as possible from Volk. Ultimately, I say fuck it, man. Let's give Diego Lopez the next title shot. Like, hear me out. I think a matchup against both Topurio and Max would be very intriguing. Especially against Max. Please beat Topurio, I'm begging you. But for real, though, I would love to see if Diego would be able to crack Max's chin. And I think he would have a banger of a fight with Ilya as well. That's the fight to make, y'all. Give Diego the next title shot against the winner of Max and Ilya. Now, who is the next matchup for Brian Ortega? I'm glad you asked. Nah, for real, man. It's sad to see Brian's downfall. That's my boy. But this is all part of the story, man. He's got to break his beak. He's got to sharpen his talons. And he'll be back. Seriously, though, I think now is the time he moves up to lightweight. He's been hinting at it for a while, and that weight cut for this last fight looked horrible. Now, we need someone for him who is top 10, but is a winnable fight. And I think a goated matchup for Ortega would be Dan Hooker, guys. This fight will be a fucking banger. I low-key wanted to see Dan Hooker versus Charles Oliveira, but we all saw Oliveira versus Chandler 2 got announced. Don't worry, I got a vid about that coming up. Seriously, though, imagine this fight as a Fight Night main event. This would go so fucking hard. Ortega versus Hooker is the fight to make. Let's go. Alright, next up, we got Esteban Ribovics. He got a big win over Daniel Zahuber and what I correctly predicted was fight of the night. This dude Esteban just puts on great fights, man. I think he deserves a big matchup against someone in the top 15 to 20 range, and if he can win that, then he will certainly get a shot at ranked opposition. Now, I think a good fight for him would be Drew Dober. Yo, this fight would be such a banger. Both of these guys just go out there and swang. This one has Fight Night co-main or pay-per-view main card opener all over it. This fight is going to be 50K guaranteed. Just imagine the exchanges in this fight, dude. They have to book this one. Ribovics versus Dober is the fight to make. Alright, now rounding out the main card, we got Ronaldo Rodriguez. Now, I predicted him to win, which was correct, but let's be real, I got lucky. I thought Osborne won the fight, but Ronaldo got the nod, so we got to get something for him. I think he is someone who will put on exciting fights. He's got 2 wins in the UFC now, and I think a good fight for him next would be another flyweight who won on this card as well, Josh Van. Both of these guys come to scrap, so I think this would be an entertaining matchup. Winner gets a shot at someone in the top 15. Throw this on a Fight Night main card or some pay-per-view prelims later this year. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Josh Van. Okay, and just before we finish up here, we're going to run through some prelim winners real quick. Norma Dumont looked really good. She gave Aldana one of the worst cuts of all time, man. That shit was nasty. She deserves a number one contender fight next, so book her against the loser of Kayla Harrison versus Kaitlyn Vieira. Ignacio Bahamondes got a crazy KO against Miguel Torres. He is looking really freaking good lately. I think he deserves a fight with someone in the rankings, so a sweet matchup would be Jalen Turner. Got 2 freakishly tall guys for 155. I think this would be a really good fight as well. And lastly, Raul Rosas Jr. got a big win. I like the narrative of him going for John Jones' record, and he is looking better every fight. I think it's time we give him a ranked opponent. So I say we give him Cody Durden. He's a gritty vet, so he will be a good test for Raul, and if he wins, it's top 10 competition next. But yeah, that's about it, guys. UFC 306 is in the books. I'm still fucking depressed, but Sean seems to be doing okay, so I can accept it. Marab's also just a really good dude, so I hope he can have a long reign and Sean can get that title fight back with him. I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who subscribed. We just hit 50 subs. I really appreciate all you guys. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you're watching and you aren't subscribed, just click that button real quick and tell any friends who fuck with MMA to check out my vids. Gonna start trying to make at least 2 vids a week for you guys, so look out for that. And if you guys enjoyed the video, you know what to do. To that like button down below. Let me know in the comments what fights you would make for the fighters from UFC 306. I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy, gang.